Meeting will come to order. It's November 14th, 2016. We're supposed to be here to do a provisional and mail absentee meeting, but when everything's basically been preempted by the state board. So we're going to the minutes of the last meeting. Has board members read the minutes?
No.
No? Okay. Take time to read the minutes. See if there's any corrections or additions.
Were the minutes sent out?
Yes.
I sent it to all three of y'all board members. This whole packet was sent to y'all.
I
got it Thursday night.
Everything in this packet was sent to all three board members.
Okay, for purposes of minutes, I'm going to introduce the board. I'm Bobby Weldon, Chairman. This is Mr. Al Daniels, Secretary. Mr. Brian Hale, Member. Ms. Cynthia Shaw is the Director. And I would like to keep from embarrassing myself, have you folks introduce yourselves. Okay. I'm Charles Peterson, Bladen County Commissioner. Please.
I'm Erin Smith with Bladen Online.
Good morning. I'm Attorney Michael McGinnis of Elizabethtown. Pleasure to be with you.
Attorney Matthew Dixon. Isaac King here for the Roy Cooper campaign.
Prentice Benson.
Stuart Page.
Charles Devon.
Steve Lewis.
Diane McDuffie.
Walter McDuffie.
Landon Bordeaux.
Carly Dallas.
Charlotte Ware.
Sheila Chivett with the Pat McCoy campaign.
Gerald Pitt, back and forth.
Roger Knight. Ken Register Jr.
Mike Cox, Conservation.
Got everybody okay?
And this session was recorded. The November the 7th session was video.
It's in there.
Correct.
Okay.
Are we ready?
I'm ready.
I'll make a motion we accept them as they are. I don't see any issues with them.
I have a second.
I'll second it, but with this caveat that I want to go back and review the details, which I have not done.
Okay. Minutes are approved. Okay. Okay. Email from Brian Nesby on approval of provisional ballots. Director.
Mr. Chairman, after the fact of the agenda and this whole complete packet going to the board members, we received this email from Brian Nesby from the state board. If you'll notice on number 3 paragraph, it's indicating that the provisional meetings must be held on or after Wednesday, November the 16th, unless you receive permission to hold an earlier meeting, which we have not received permission. So therefore, the state is still reviewing all the provisionals that are coming in from all the county boards of elections, going through the DMV searches and all the different searches that we have to go through. So provisionals are not going to be able to be reviewed today because the state has not released any kind of approval to us from what we've sent in. It appears that we have gotten about 170 provisional ballots that's got to go in the queue and be reviewed through the state applications before we can get actually our approval on these things. Of course, the board will review them and make the decision.
Right. Okay, is my memory serving me correct? Do we have to have all the mail absentees in by 5 o'clock today?
Mail absentee, we have gotten, I think we've got about 40 more mail absentees in since election day.
Tuesday.
Anything postmarked on election day, November 8th, that comes in through the mail, has to come in through the mail, we can accept.
Up until.
There's about 40, I think, that's come in, but we can accept military up until 5 o'clock on Thursday. We are getting some that's drifting in, coming through email or whatever. So it might be better if the board waits until Thursday afternoon to actually feed all of those extra mail absentees into the machine, so that we will make sure that there's we give the military its time frame of getting them into us by 5 o'clock on Thursday.
Okay. And that would states also delayed us doing the provisional until at least Wednesday, so seems to me it'd be practical to do the remaining mail absentees and the provisionals on Thursday.
If that's what the board desires, Mr. Chairman, that's up to, I would say that it would be best to do it that way, but I mean,
Discussion.
we've got to, give the time frame that the state's telling us to do.
So what was the deadline for receiving ballots that were turned in by hand?
5 o'clock on election day.
Election day, right. Okay, anybody have a problem with being, say, 4 o'clock Thursday to do the provisionals and the remaining mail absentees?
I do, because of a meeting that I have at 7 o'clock in the evening, on that day.
Okay, can you do it earlier in the day?
I should be able to do it earlier in the day.
Give me a time.
I would prefer 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock.
1 o'clock,
1 o'clock.
okay? So I have a motion that we do it at 1 o'clock on Thursday then.
So move.
Second,
It's gonna be up to you. I can't make it either way this week.
okay. I second.
All right.
Okay, the meeting will be Thursday at 1 o'clock. And what time is your meeting? The other commitment?
Is at 7 o'clock.
Oh, okay, we should have plenty of time. Okay, we've covered that. Do we have any individuals or delegations wishing to address the board? No one? Okay. Consider entering closed session. Anybody have anything for closed session?
I have nothing.
Right?
No, I don't have anything for closed session, but I want to go back to one thing on the agenda. It says request affecting certain absentee ballots subject to an ongoing investigation.
Okay, that is,
And it goes to this email with, several names on it, people wishing to, I guess, possibly look at ballots.
right.
If that's the case, from what I understand is we've got to make that decision as a board to allow it or not allow it, so we need
Right.
to address that now before we adjourn this meeting.
What is that now? But what is the issue?
There's possibly several organizations wishing to view those ballots, and they're in the process of being copied. And
Is that something that, but excuse me, is that the information that you're talking about with the additional reviewers, is that contained in this piece of correspondence, or is that extraneous information? I don't see it in here. So are you addressing something that is outside of this piece of information?
no, it's any outside agency other than the state board, the ballots have to be redacted so they can't be identified to any particular voter. That's in the second paragraph at the end of it. Okay, I guess.
But where in, who are the organizations or where did they come from? I still don't see that. This is a general order suggesting that if there are any requests, such requests. But I see nothing indicating.
We have had several requests, and we got several people present here today that have asked to do that. That's the purpose for being here. And that's what I called you on Thursday afternoon. They wanted me to call an emergency meeting, but I did not do that because I wanted to make sure that we notified the media and everybody and they would be here.
But when you talked to me, even when I called you back,
Right.
about the time of the meeting,
Right. Mm-hmm.
you didn't mention to me.
Well, you called me about the time of the meeting. You called me about the time of the meeting. I had made a 1 hour mistake on it at that time.
I know I called you, but my point is, at that time, you still. I'm hearing that there have been local folk who want to review it all. This is the first time I'm hearing that.
Okay.
That's what
I'm not sure there's lower folks. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I've got something I'd like for you to read, if you can, see if you'd like for it to be submitted today during the meeting, or
Okay.
otherwise I'm gonna bring it to you. I may be one of those folks that
Okay.
for the office.
Okay. You want to read this for us, and the board can then decide?
Give me a minute, I'm not one of the public speakers, I'll do the best I can. I, Ken Register Jr., candidate for Bladen County District 3 County Commissioner, request for the Bladen County Board of Elections have a hands-eye vote count to be completed on the recent election due to very problematic tallying of votes. Several glitches were encountered during early voting, and as well as several poll errors at separate poll locations on the day of election. I was present and witnessed the software membership incident at the Bladen County Library on the day of the membership switch. It's not my intention of accusing any individual of wrongdoing or ill intent, but it is simply in the best interest of Bladen County taxpayers and the election position candidates to have an accurate and factual count of votes. It is my opinion that due to a glitch of any capacity during an important election as such, it is imperative to ensure accuracy.
You're talking about the thumb drive that got saturated at the library.
That in addition, yes sir, that in addition to other incidents that took place.
Cynthia, isn't there a mandatory hand-to-eye recount scheduled for tomorrow, mandated by the state anyway.
There's a hand
Yeah.
to eye, let me tell you about the hand to eye recount. After every election, a statistician usually from UNC Chapel Hill or whatever, every state in North Carolina, they will randomly select 2 precincts, whether it be a one-stop site, whether it be election day site, that every county has to do what they call a hand to eye. It is simply to make sure that the machines are counting properly. So yes, we have got a hand to eye recount tomorrow. I'm not sure what time, I can't remember. I do know that it is for College Precinct and for Abbotsburg, I believe, for the president's race only. That's the only thing they'll be looking at on the whole ballot. And what they do is they actually do, I have 2 Democrats and 2 Republicans. They will team up, and one team will call names and the other team will call names until they get through with that total precinct. And they're actually doing it by 1, 2, 3, 4 tally. And they have to be in sync together. Then we have to compare those numbers with the tapes from those precincts on election day. It's called a hand to eye.
My request is for county commissioner elections, not random in a whole Bladen County. For District 3 exclusively.
At the present time, we don't have a reason to do that. The thumb drive that was saturated at the library, we took those ballots and secured them, the ones that had been run before the thumb drive got saturated. We secured those ballots, locked them up in the ballot room, went to the state for advice. They told us exactly what to do. We did that, and after the polls closed, the one-stop polls I'm speaking of now, after they closed at 1 o'clock on Saturday, we run those. We had the judge, and the chief judge and 2 judges come in, run those early ballots through the machine that we moved from the library down here and put in the cage. They run all those ballots through, consolidated all that. We confirmed it. All 3 board members signed off on it, and we don't see a problem with that.
Well, I do see a problem. Any glitch in a system like that, when you're tallying votes, there to ensure accuracy, there is not but one way to do that, and that's to lay eyes on those ballots and count individually. Well, I haven't heard yet what the problem was. Why do we encounter a problem such as this in an educated board like we have? We should not encounter problems.
Cynthia, you want to explain what happened to the thumb drive?
The thumb drive on election, when the polls open at 8:30, the polls open at 8:30 at the library. All the machines are programmed with a thumb drive. They open the polls at 8:30. The polls are actually not closed at the library site until 1 o'clock on that Saturday. That's when the polls are actually closed. They actually have to power the machine down and secure the machine, but they actually do not close the polls because, in fact, the polls aren't closed. Over a period of 3 days, like the day and night, day and night, day and night, with the amount of voting that was done, every so often there is an audit log that is sent to that thumb drive. It dumps to that thumb drive, and it filled the thumb drive up.
Is there not any protocol to eliminate this happening? Bladen County, is this the only county that?
Well, I'll answer that one. Basically what happened is the manufacturer said that was the way to handle it, but I'd say that they probably didn't do a very good job of QC in their product. And what was happening is we were not powering down the machine, we were putting it to sleep. And for a period of 72 to 96 hours, every so often it was sending an audit log, and was burning up that memory. So that it didn't retally any votes, it just kept putting more logs in there of an audit saying the same thing over and over again. And when we spoke with the company, they said actually what you need to do is power down the machine so it doesn't send an audit log. We didn't have that problem in any other sites. And it didn't change the numbers whatsoever. It just basically, for lack of better terms, if you leave your computer on, it just keeps building up a cache and building up a cache of useless information that burns up the memory. Once we figured that out, we realized she immediately told every one of the sites, Bladen, East Arcadia, and Dublin, to power down the machine without closing the polls every night. It didn't burn up the memory on the audit log, and for the rest of the time at the library, that card managed to stay working. And instead of taking the first card and the second card and putting numbers together, the state preferred that we put them all on one flash drive. So the first flash drive was not used as per se. Those votes were all run back through the machine and compared on numbers according to the tapes that she said. So that is why that happened.
So was there a separate memory stick used at each location?
Yes.
Why were those memory sticks not filled as well if the same audit logs were being?
Because the vote count was a lot less at the other sites.
Because the log itself.
And we didn't get to that point because the vote count at the library was so much higher than the other sites.
Yeah, but if there were not any vote count changes as far as the number of votes changing, why should that have a part to play in the? This is what I'm saying. You've got so many problems, you've got so many questions here as to why this has happened. I don't think there's but one way to eliminate.
Well, we'll do the hand eye recount tomorrow, and my suggestion is if there's a problem with the hand eye recount, then we'll do as you say. If there's not a problem with the hand eye recount, we'll consider that the machines have been validated.
And the one, let me, if you don't mind me asking, what were the locations that the hand eye count was going to be done at?
I think it's Abbotsburg and Collie, which is White Lake.
That's to be done at what time?
I'll have to look at the time. I've had so many times.
It's tomorrow morning, it's
I
either
think
9 or
it's-
10 o'clock.
yeah, in the morning.
Just so I get this right and everybody knows, I take it that the voters in that precinct will be pulled, and the votes will be tallied up from the memory stick and the hand counted, right? Each individual.
No, the ballots will be pulled. The memory stick will not be touched. The ballots will be pulled, and it's a very boring and tedious process.
Right.
And then they will tally numbers, and they will compare to the tape that was printed off from those machines to verify that the numbers are correct.
Well, now, will that be just the day of election, or will that be the voters that from that precinct that voted
For
for
the
it?
entire precinct.
It's election day only.
It's election day. That's what they asked to pull.
They're the ones, the statisticians
That's not even-
that filters this information to the state board is the one that tells us who they have randomly chosen to do this, what precincts, and ours happens to be Collie and Abbotsburg, for president only.
Well, what I'm questioning is during that period at early voting, and that hand-eye contact will not, count will not, it doesn't have any bearing whether there was a problem at early voting or not. Just that precinct. We're not questioning the problem at the precinct count, the day of election.
Okay, sir, would you make me a proposal on what you want done?
I did it right.
Okay, in writing, that's what you want done.
Yes, sir.
Do I have a motion to do that?
Nope, not until we do the hand eye recount tomorrow. I'll make that motion.
Mr. Chairman, could I ask a question to the director? Are the thumb drives removed during this process, or do they stay with the machines all the time? Are the flash drives removed? How are they?
The flash drive stays married to the machine, and the machines are secured at night.
So, when I'm asking a question, when the machine at one is not fully shut down at the library, that's what we were saying, right? You said y'all didn't download that machine, right? Oh, you didn't load it down to where it was shut off.
The machine at the library, it was just like Brian was saying. I don't know how else to explain it.
The flash card stays with the machine because if it comes out, it will mess up the vote tally. And if it comes out, then everything gets nullified and void. So the flash card stays with the machine, and the tally has to be run. And if somebody goes in there at 3 o'clock in the morning and tries to tamper with the machine, when the people come back the next morning, the numbers are going to be wrong. because that thing counts each ballot that comes through. So when they come back in the morning, they will make sure that the number is correct on the machine from where they left the day before, to make sure no other ballots have been run through. The flash card or the memory card stays in it, and they can continue running a tally. And every day a report of the total number of votes comes back to the office to make sure they stay on the right number.
The reason I was asking the question on the way the machine to the library was secured is all how on Wi-Fi with that machine that wasn't downloaded to shut it down. Was it accessible during that time frame? Because
No.
you're not access to under security. What type of security keeps that machine from being handled with something to tell you that somebody's gone into it? How do you check?
All votes are kept on the machine locally. They're not the only thing that the Wi-Fi does is it gives the people gives the poll workers the ability to access voting records to make sure they've got the right poll books, the right ballots and everything. But the machine, the vote stays on the machine in the card. So unless somebody broke into the library and broke into a voting machine and actually figured out a way to beat the machine and put a new card in it or alter the votes were not altered.
And we would catch that the next morning because we'd be looking at the previous vote count, and if there's additional votes on there, Chief Judge would call us.
Wi-Fi has nothing to do with that voting machine. Not one thing.
So
It's
not-
standalone. It has nothing to do with Wi-Fi.
So it's not hooked to Wi-Fi?
No, it's not.
Okay, that's what I was asking.
I have one question. Early Tuesday morning, I received a phone call in reference to Central, which voted at the Women of the World building. For some strange reason, when people tried to vote, the machine would show they had double voted. We were told, when asked about it, that the wrong software or something was in the machine. How did that happen? They were
I've got
double
an
voted in the
explanation for that. Give me just one moment. As a matter of fact, I had the statement brought into me this morning.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I would like to view all the absentee ballots. And also, the second part is, I want to know if some of these complaints have been sent to the State Board of Elections, and are they coming, or what's their response back to some of the complaints?
Every complaint that we have received has been sent to the state. The investigators are here now. They came in early this morning, and we're working on the investigation.
Short of one complaint where
Yeah.
somebody from a tent in E-Town took a ballot from somebody while they were curbside voting and marked their ballot for them, handed it to an election worker. That complaint has not been addressed yet because the board did not want to address it because they said they didn't have any names to associate with them. But other than that, all the other complaints have been sent to the state.
That's correct.
And if you would like to look at the ballots, then according to this letter from the state,
You can do that.
you can do that, but we must redact all of the ballots with any kind of identifiable mark so that you can't see who voted. You can only see what was voted. And if that's what you would like, then I'll make a motion that we redact those ballots so that Charles Ray and anybody else that wishes to look at the absentee ballots can look at the absentee ballots.
Do I have a second?
One question to you before you do that. I've heard a number of things here. One that I'm hearing sort of several for the first time, which is not unusual in this setting. Usually, a lot of time I don't hear of things until the same as you. There's discussions that go on that I'm not a part of. Having said that, let me ask on the two complaints that came up at last session. Were they also sent to the state? We had two new complaints.
Yes.
Yes, they were sent. And you would have the same information we had you read your emails. You should have.
I have. But if this is all that's on the email, there's nothing on here that says those who are show me on in this package where it says that those two complaints are sent to the state.
No,
Is there anything in here?
that's a separate issue. Those complaints were printed out on my computer.
What I'm challenging you to is if you both may be right, it cannot be that this is an exact copy of what is on the computer. Or, especially if you're telling me that something is on my computer that is not in this package. Now, and I see nothing in here, and if it is something in here to talk about the disposition of the 2 complaints from last week pointed out to me, sir.
We decided at the meeting to send the complaints
Is it
forward.
in this
We sent them
package?
forward, and the state is here investigating all the complaints.
But that information is not represented in this package.
It shouldn't be in this package.
Then,
The state requested it, they remain low key.
Okay?
but it's okay from this point of view, but I'm not going to accept just the fact that you're trying to throw a dart and say that if I read the email, I would have read something that was not included in that. I want that to be recorded.
Yeah, it was included in the email, copies of those complaints.
Is this the package that is that package what was in the email?
No, there's more than that in the emails. The complaints were in the emails.
The minutes right here says 2 formal complaints were reviewed, one from Jane Fate, one from James Fate. Motion made by me, seconded by you to send the complaint to the State Board of Investigation.
Did we decide not to take a look at those complaints ourselves?
No, we said that
We
they
said
needed to
before
go.
the state we did that.
We said we were not going to touch the one from Heather Bobby because it had no names in it. Or y'all did. I didn't. I said it should go to the state board. But you 2 agreed not to deal with it until we had more names.
Follow up on the complaint about folk having to get off of the van. Was that one sent to the state?
No.
No,
Because you didn't have any names.
we didn't vote to send that to the state.
But back to the motion I made. The motion has nothing to do with these 2 complaints. The motion was made to redact the absentees to give Charles Ray or anybody else that chooses to look at the ballots.
Right.
The motion's out there. That doesn't have anything to do with the 2 emails. There are 2 complaints.
Does that include? Would that include Mr. Register's
Yes.
interest?
Yeah, because it's going to be part
Anybody
of it.
is public record at that point.
We just have to approve it, and we have to make sure they're redacted before they look at it.
And we have to make sure they're copied. Right now, we're having problems getting them all copied.
Right. And my position is I am all for an open, fair election system that is understood by the voters, the staff, this board, and all candidates. The system should be an open system that everybody understands. We may not be complete with all aspects, might be happy with all of the results of it, but we should all understand the operational process.
Okay, that's what they're asking for, to be able to look at that.
Then I move that we do whatever is necessary to expose that.
So you second the motion.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, so be it. We're in the process of doing that.
May I ask another question?
Sure.
You were talking about the one you didn't send to Raleigh about the person filling out the ballot on top of the car. Have you contacted the one that filed the complaint?
Yes, and I do know the name of the person that actually took the ballot.
Okay,
out of the person's
okay.
name. So I
Thank
just
you.
have not brought it up in a public forum yet. I was just
Okay.
waiting to discuss.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
the letter that, this statement I just gave you was just brought in this morning by Christopher Williams for what happened to Horace's question in reference to Central Precinct. He wrote up a statement in reference to, and y'all can take a minute and read that because it just came in this morning. But it's pertaining to the ATV labels which they use to look up the people in the poll book, and what it boils down to was, it was actually, well, y'all read it first.
It's hard to read. So I'm guessing by what this says is that he noticed that people were showing not voted in the poll book, but he knew that had voted.
No, okay.
That's why this thing's hard to read the way it's written.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
Okay. On election day, we do not use laptops. We use 3 ring binders. They're called ATV labels. when a person walks into the polling place, they look up the person's name, they peel the label off, they put it on an ATV form, after making sure their address and everything is good. The voter signs the ATV form, they're given a ballot, their ballot, and they fill it out, and it goes through the DS-200. What happened at Central was, it was the ATV labels. We worked all day long Saturday afternoon after 1 o'clock when the polls closed. The wrong poll book was run for Central. It was run for another election day. And a list of the absentee voters was in his supplies for the last election. When the people came in to vote, the people got to vote. When he noticed that it wasn't correct is when he looked at his son's ATV label, and his son had already voted mail absentee and it wasn't showing on there. He called me. I pulled it up on the computer and I said, I don't understand why you're not seeing what I'm seeing. So I run a brand new poll book, sent it by Bobby Kinlaw to Central. They switched out the old poll book. Bobby brought the old poll book back to me. When they got the new one, they transferred the new labels from the election day, from the ATVs from the correct election to the ATV labels, and they continued voting. No one was not able not to vote.
But did we find out if anybody actually voted twice?
Nobody voted twice.
Okay. All right.
That's not even an issue. There's not anything in this chief judge.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, this is a fine example of why I think it's imperative to do a hand-eye count on this precinct. This precinct, Colley, White Oak, I think the early voting, number one, is the most important. Simple mistakes like this should not be made.
It shows double voting.
If it's a matter of taking a wrong book for precinct, this is not a kindergarten president of the class election. This is a presidential United States election. This should be taken more serious. If small mistakes like this are being made, this leaves a heck of a lot of room for error.
I understand that, but the procedure that they followed was correct, and they pulled the new ATV stickers.
It's not a matter of correcting it. It's a matter of taking precautions not to make these mistakes. These mistakes shouldn't have been made. And if they can be made and forgiven, then why can't we go post-election and do a hand-eye count?
No, we just ensure that the proper procedures were followed to correct them.
Need to do that before.
We're all humans. We're all humans if we make mistakes. But if it was something that was not properly corrected,
yes, sir.
I would agree with you.
Right. But do you not agree with the fact that if you yourself, Mr. Chairman, were one of these candidates that got caught up in some of these problematic, whatever it is, in some of these errors, do you not think that you would welcome a hand-eye contact and you would request one as well?
I would also require some evidence that some wrongdoing had been done.
Would you yourself request a hand-eye contact count if you were called up as a candidate in some of these lists? Simple question, sir.
Can't answer that. Don't know what the process were.
I brought up the complaint here. The only way it was caught at Central was because it was showing that people were double voting. They never shown that.
There's nobody double voting, Horace.
How was it showing they double voted?
What happened was the person went in to vote again, it showed they had already voted. That's what it showed.
It might have showed it on that book. That's when they called it and called me. And then that's when another book was sent over there by Bobby Kinlaw. And they continued to vote on. There was nobody that double voted in Central Precinct.
It wasn't the first one where it was called. There were several before, and when it came to his son...
Were you sitting in there when it happened?
Were you?
Okay. No, but I am the director, and I seen...
But were you there? It don't matter if you're the director, secretary, vice president. Were you there?
Well, I wondered one thing. Was there several people that tried to vote twice? That might be another problem.
There was, yes.
Yes, it was.
I don't know why anybody tried to break the law.
I break the law, the system was
Consistent with the first.
We can eliminate the
How did they go in
possibility.
and take the time on that?
Let me just ask a question here for the record. Cynthia, when this happened, were any of the board members notified, or you handled that on your own?
The chairman was notified that happened because I think Brian knew of the situation and I
So I was the only one who was not surprised at that.
that's not what I said.
You said that you had
I do the administrative that I could do to make things move forward, and those duties and delegations were given to me whenever this board came on, and so I printed a new code book and sent it over there.
And I have great appreciation for all of the work and things that you do. I appreciate that. On the other hand, what I do not appreciate is when two members of this board are informed of things and I am not.
That was
And
just
it's only heightened on my part when I know that the other two are Republicans and I'm the only Democrat. I want that on the record. So whatever this was, you've heard the directors. I was not.
I don't
Be
even
involved or involved.
I do not know that.
I don't even know that I was notified.
I mean, it probably was told throughout the
I do
day
not
that
recall.
That's
something
the
happened.
original question, sir. Did you contact the board? He said it for himself. He don't know.
The issue before the board now, do I have a motion that we do a hand-to-eye recount on the county commissioners' races in Bladen County? Do I have a motion to do that?
I move.
Do I have a second? Issue closed. Anybody else wish to address the board?
Can we get copies of the complaints of the state, sent to the State Board of Elections?
Cynthia?
Sure.
Okay. See Cynthia.
And a copy of the complaint that was filed this morning?
This one that,
Yes, sir.
okay.
Thank you.
I have one more comment, that makes the record.
Okay.
I've attended almost every board meeting here for the last 3 months. And I've watched how business is handled here. And as a soldier, and Mr. Chairman, you're a soldier, I mean, it's nothing less than a mutiny that's happened inside the board of elections. It's mutiny. And it's sad. On election day, I thought I was back in 1950. Everything we discussed and did in early voting, we thought everything was ironed out. But on election day morning, my phone kept ringing. You can't take a Bladen proof ballot inside the poll. You have to call the state to get that changed. Then all of a sudden, get that changed. You can't take that ballot out of the poll site. You got to throw it in the trash. It's sad. This is 2016. And what happened here in Bladen County on election day is disgusting. I just want that on the record. It's sad.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I think it's disgusting the way people and groups in this county is manipulating or trying to manipulate and intimidate the election. That's why I think it's a disgrace to Bladen County.
How you got lit?
I beg your pardon?
Or that Pat, how you got lit?
Pat don't support me. You can ask them.
You claim that the fact don't support you in the last election you won.
Yes, sir. I'll go on record and say that.
I would like to make a statement as well. The only reason for not having a hand-eye contact count is because that's admitting there's question for negligence on the county part. I feel to eliminate, and I will escalate to a state level, and I will protest after the canvas on the 18th.
It's fine. That's your prerogative.
And Mrs. Miller, I'd like to give a comment back about PACs. And I sometimes get very disturbed about people implying what PACs do and how PACs function. PACs function all over this nation. Republican PACs, Democrat PACs, political, all aspects of those guys do the same simple thing. Whatever you call it, they function the same form and purpose, and they are all legitimate and legal. So stop talking about what people do when they decide to come together and work in a cooperative group. That's no excuse of the law.
Okay, anyone else? I have a motion to meet and adjourn.
Made the motion.
Second.
Second, although I'm enjoying this, I was tempted not to.
Okay. Meeting adjourned.